What is up, my fellow spiritual weirdos, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tawny Michelle, and we are not all love, light, twin flames, and unicorns over on this channel. Welcome to the 2021 predictions for each sign. Okay, so this is going to resonate most for your rising sign, but you're free to watch your sun, moon, or whatever the hell sign that you want to watch, okay? This resonates most for your rising sign, though, because your rising sign is the sign that determines how your chart is made up. And the way that I do horoscopes and that most other astrologers do their horoscopes and predictions is based off of the rising sign in the chart. Without the rising sign, we don't know what house things are in for you, and so that's why the rising sign resonates most. Also, make sure to let me know if any of this stuff comes true, you guys. I would really love to know. Make sure to like and share this video and comment down below. It would really help me out because this video is a lot of work. Before we get started, if there are any other videos that you would like me to do or that you would like to see from me, or more certain types of videos that you would like to see from me in the near future, make sure to comment down below and I would love to do that for you. I've been kind of trying to come up with ideas on other things that I can do here on the channel, so let me know. Also, go follow me on my other social medias to keep up with me. I make tons of other predictions and talk about tons of other astrological stuff and spiritual stuff over on Instagram and TikTok, so make sure that you're following me on there. And let's get into the 2021 predictions for your sign. So I'm going to start with the signs that are going to have likely the most difficulty throughout this year, and then we will move on to the other signs that may not have as much difficulty as some of the others. Do remember though, just because I say that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have difficulty if your rising sign isn't mentioned in the difficult rising sign reading. Could depend on something else going on in your personal chart as well, so do keep that in mind. Okay, so we are going to start off this year with Aquarius. Aquarius, you got all kinds of shit up in your sign this year, man, and you have, I'm sure you've been hearing about yourself a lot lately, so that's why we're going to be starting with you guys. So basically, you guys are ruled by Saturn in traditional Western astrology, which is what I tend to gravitate towards, and Saturn is in your sign. Saturn has not been in your sign since the early 90s. Okay, so this is a major time. Your ruling planet is in your sign, but we also have Jupiter there joining with it. So this is going to make your next, not only year, but also your next 3 years with Saturn in particular in your sign, all about growing the F up and, you know, adulting, maturing, restrictions. It's really kind of putting a weight on you in some ways. And it's not all bad. It's not all doom and gloom. Although Saturn is a malefic for this first year, you do have Jupiter there helping out for most of the year. So, you know, you can expect to grow from any hard lessons that you do learn. But this has marked a beginning of a brand new era of you, Aquarius. You are going to change drastically, not only this year, but the next 3 years. You are going to understand your strengths, your sovereignty, your sense of authority. And, you know, it's going to be very easy to get stuck in certain ways or certain patterns or certain ways of thinking or certain ways of doing things, but Saturn is really going to push you to your limits. Saturn is really going to help you with any health related issues, any body or appearance related issues. It's going to really help you crack down on what it is that you need to do to take better care of yourself. This is also very much about your identity, who you are as a person, what you resonate with, who you relate to, what you like and what you dislike. You're also your early childhood. This is going to be a major time of really like stepping into who you're meant to be, because what you will achieve or learn about yourself, especially over these next few years and even the next 20 years, is going to forever change you as a person and affect who you end up becoming. You're not going to be able to get away with shit like you normally would have in the past. Saturn is definitely going to lay down the law, and there may be some limitations, some boundaries. And speaking of boundaries, this is also knowing your boundaries as a person, whether that's with other people, whether that's just your general boundaries. You know, what do you need to feel like you are solid, to feel like you have a foundation, to feel like you are stable? Other themes that you could notice with Saturn in your sign this year, Aquarius, is you may start to feel alienated, different, outcasted. It may be very hard for you to be around people. You may kind of exclude yourself or isolate yourself from other people, or the main narratives that other people are going by, or the trends that other people are going by. But this is also going to force you to learn how to use your your differences, to use your sense of uniqueness as your strengths and as your gifts. That is going to be a major player in this. This is really going to force you to confront stuck patterns, cycles, things from the past that are holding you back this year, and to confront the differences and the uniqueness of yourself, and to use that as your strength and embrace it rather than trying to separate it. This is also going to bring up fragmentation, like the parts of you that you separate or divide within yourself in order for you to integrate these things to become the most authentic version of you. This is also going to be about learning your place in the world, learning like who you really are, learning what you have to offer. What are your talents and abilities? Like, what do you like about yourself? And that's another thing. Saturn can make it hard when it comes to self-esteem or when it comes to self-confidence, with it being in your sign and in your first house. But the lessons that you will learn with this will stick with you for a lifetime and will lead to you growing so much and learning your strengths. This is also going to force you to confront what you may be projecting onto other people or just onto the world in general that you are not looking at for yourself. Are you wearing a mask? Are you being true to yourself? That is where you're really going to start seeing changes in this department. Also, if you feel like you have imposter syndrome, this is going to be possibly a big one for some of you. What parts of you do you repress, and what parts of you do you accentuate? So yeah, basically this is going to be a year full of personality, self-awareness, your body, your health, your identity, your childhood, your views, your past. There's going to be a lot coming up from the past that's going to challenge you, and you're going to have to put in the effort to liberate yourself from your past. Now, you're also going to experience off and on all year this year and part of the year next year issues when it comes to breaking free of some kind of past cycles, some kind of past situation, some kind of home or even family situation. Or also some kind of karmic, like generational karma as well, could also come up for a lot of you guys. You also may find that a lot of your plans in regards to home or family or your personal life don't end up going the way that you expected. There could be a lot of randomness or a lot of surprises there as well. But this is definitely a major journey of this self this year for Aquarius. And with Jupiter in your sign this year, this is going to be very much about finding the meaning, finding your purpose, finding your value. What do you have to offer? What do you have to teach? And learning so much about yourself. You may get into some kind of shadow work type of thing or psychology type of thing, or, you know, doing something that's going to increase your wisdom on who you are as a person. And I believe this is going to be most felt for you guys. Like the beginning is going to really kick off February 2021, especially around that new moon in your sign, because we're going to have a whole ass stellium in your sign, including Mercury, and the moon and the sun and Saturn and Jupiter and Venus eventually. So the February is going to be a major time for Aquarius of figuring out or starting some crazy new beginning of the self. This is going to really kick off that journey, and you're really going to start feeling it around this time. So we're still going to be having the eclipses in the sign of Gemini and Sagittarius this year. So for you, that's your 5th and 11th house if you're an Aquarius rising. So basically you are going to see major themes around the times that we have eclipses, which are going to be around the end of May, also into the beginning of June, and then also at the very end of the year around November and December. You're going to see major themes coming up when it comes to your friends, your social circles, your ambitions, your wishes, your dreams in the world, how you participate in the world, possibly charity or organizations or giving back or helping in some way, and basically just anything that you do with groups or like social events and stuff like that, versus what you do for yourself, what you do for fun, what you do for pleasure, your own creativity, your own creative expression, children, pleasure, and things like that. Also, around May, Jupiter is going to ingress into your 2nd house out of your sign, and that is going to be a great time to launch anything new that's financial or do anything that is financial. Especially in May, you want to do it before Jupiter goes retrograde. So sometime in May, probably like in the beginning, mid-May, you may see a major increase in your income or resources, financial matters. That is going to be a good time to do something financial. and to have a lot of really great luck doing it. So those are the biggest themes that I see for you, Aquarius. Make sure you tune into the monthly forecast to get more details on a month-to-month basis. Alrighty, so moving on to Leo. I was just filming and my camera wasn't, so now I have to start over. Okay, so for Leo, Saturn is in the 7th house of Aquarius. Okay, so this is a make or break time for relationships. We got a little bit of a taste of this in 2020 when Saturn dipped in March, but then moved right back out, I think in June or July. So we did get a little bit of a preview of what was coming with Saturn in our relationship sector. But if you're a Leo rising, the next 3 years with Saturn there is going to be about really putting in the effort and really make or break moments and experiences in relationships. We're going to be taught major life lessons when it comes to relationships, okay? Saturn has not been in Aquarius since the early 1990s, remember that. So also if you were born around 1991 to 1993, you likely possibly have Saturn in Aquarius, so this is also possibly your Saturn return. But basically, Saturn in our relationship sector wants us to work hard to receive the payoff, you know, and this doesn't mean like, oh, it's all doom and gloom and you're going to be alone, although it's going to affect everybody differently. It's not like that's not a possibility, but people get married when Saturn enters their 7th house or during their Saturn return, because it really is about building that commitment, building a strong and solid foundation. But it does take a lot of hard work, a lot of challenges, a lot of hardships. And so you could be noticing that you're a little bit more distant or closed off or isolated from people. Maybe you're more focused on work or your career or your day-to-day shit, you know, or maybe your partner is that way. Maybe they're a little bit more distant or closed off or focused on work, and that's completely normal. You just need to be communicating, and you need to still put in the effort to connect, you know. Some Leo risings may find it hard to get in a relationship or to connect with people, you know. It's forcing us to grow up and mature in the areas of relationships. So if you have a relationship that's been batshit crazy and toxic for, you know, before this happened, it's likely not going to last through this Saturn transit. Just to break it to you, Saturn wants heavy, big commitments, and anything less, you know, it's not going to put up with laziness. It's not going to put up with, you know, fuck boys or fuck girls. You know what I mean? It's not going to put up with basically slacking off in a relationship. It's going to force you to work for it. But if you do, that hard work is going to pay off, and, you know, the commitment could grow, because we do have Jupiter there for this year at least, you know, for the first year of Saturn in our 7th house. So we are going to learn and grow and gain a lot of wisdom and experience through these lessons that we learn, you know. And so it is kind of like we do have a little bit of a break for this first year. And so, you know, it really is a make or break time for relationships. Leos are going to want long-term relationships for them to commit. You know, you're going to want to feel stable. You're going to want to feel safe in the relationship, but you're also going to have to learn boundaries in relationships, and, you know, what kind of boundaries you have versus the boundaries that your partner has. You know, it's really forcing us to face these challenges or issues in the relationship sector, and it's going to be really, really clear this year. Now, the 7th house can also be contracts, you know, contracts or commitments with other people. It doesn't just have to be love or marriage. So, you know, you could notice that, you know, these themes are also happening in your department of just any relationship or any commitment or any contract or any agreement, you know. It's going to force you to grow up in these areas, Leo. So another thing that could come up is your relationship dynamics, you know, the commitments and relationships that, you know, you build now have to be able to stand the test of forever, basically, you know, because a lot of these relationships that you build during this time or that stay in your life during this time are possibly going to be in your life for a lifetime, or at least have that potential. That's how serious this transit is, you know. So the relationships also that you find yourself in need to have like kind of like a grounding sense, or maybe a unique sense. If you're a single Leo, you may find yourself with somebody that's older than you, or somebody that's more mature than you, or somebody that is, unique or different or a little bit of like an outcast in some way. Also, they could end up being some form of like a teacher, or they could end up teaching you something, you know, like they could really help you grow or learn or guide you in something. They want to help you progress. They want to see you progress. And those are the types of relationships you may find yourself getting into, or even you may find your partner starts doing things like this over this next year. Now, another theme that we could possibly notice as Leo risings are relationships that are also holding us back in some way, shape, or form from something that we want to do out in the world, from career, from our future, or old commitments, agreements, or contracts. You know, it doesn't just have to be a romance or a married relationship. It could be any type of relationship with anybody, but there is going to be some level here of wanting to progress out in the world versus wanting to progress with your relationship, and that's going to present a challenge for you. Also, if you're in a relationship that starts feeling heavy, or where you start feeling trapped, that could be another possibility of how this could play out. So that is something else that you want to watch out for. If you're not happy in your relationship already, then it's probably time to move on, because if you keep going, especially with these types of transits this year, you are going to be miserable until you allow yourself to break free. And it's going to feel like a ton of work and a ton of effort just to get a little bit of liberation or a little bit of freedom. This is also going to test you when it comes to what other people think of your relationships, and who you interact with, and who you hang out with, or who you're around. It's going to kind of test, like, do you care what other people think about you in your relationship or not? And it's also going to be about kind of letting go of social norms or traditional types of relationship dynamics, or relationships, just traditional types of relationships in general, or social norms around relationships. Now, this could also be you working with your partner towards something this year if you're in a relationship. And it's also about learning how to not care what other people think about you, Leo. And I know that's really hard, but that's going to be a major lesson, I feel. That's going to be kind of a laying, kind of like in the background of 2021 for us. Now, another thing this is going to bring up, because it is our opposite sign, is we could find that we have opposition from other people or a group of people, and in some way, shape, or form that are just not agreeing with us, because Saturn and Jupiter are opposite of our sign, you know, and so if your rising's there, your sun's there, you may find that you have conflict with people or with a group of people this year, and even the next 3 years on and off, depending on where your sun and rising are. You know, if they're towards the end of Leo, you're not going to experience that till the end of the Saturn transit. If it's towards the beginning, you're going to experience that more, you know, now, starting now. So it's going to be teaching you about how to deal with opposition, how to deal with things not going your way, or how to deal with delays, setbacks, when it comes to what you want to do out in the world, or what you want to do in your career. So with Uranus in Taurus squaring everything in Aquarius in our 10th house, this is definitely going to be a time of rebellion, liberation, innovation, breaking free, you know, freedom, higher forms of thinking, doing something eccentric and different when it comes to the career department. So this is going to be about how I can make rebellion, eccentricity, my authenticity look good, since it's in the sign of Taurus. So you may be doing something this year in your career that really pushes you to go outside of the bounds, go outside of the norm. But there may be some kind of challenge there with relationships or commitments or people that is really challenging you with this, or that is really preventing you from doing this in some way. You also may want to do something that, you know, do something that makes you feel more free. Like you want to go do something that makes you feel more free, or maybe you want to change or shift jobs, or maybe you want to do something that feels more eccentric, but you're worried about what people in your life might think. You know, these are just different ways this could play out, but there's definitely going to be the themes of Uranus in your career sector, with the rebellion and the authenticity and the going outside of the bounds, shaking things up, doing something different. These are going to be the main themes that you're going to see related to career. So this year is going to be a major year for career, your life path, your reputation. And that's another thing you want to be careful, Leo, because the reputation that you're building for yourself could easily shift and could easily become kind of ecstatic or kind of wild or kind of crazy with that Uranian energy. Like, I know that you want to rebel and you want to do shit differently and you want to like speak your truth, or, you know, fight for freedom or liberate yourself in some kind of way by being authentic or being true to who you are, even if it's unique or different or crazy. But at the same time, you could find yourself in some sticky situations if you're not careful. And that Saturn square, I think, is going to kind of calm you down or bring you back to reality for a little bit, you know, because and this could be like a partner that's doing this for you, or this could be somebody in your life or a friend or whatever, you know, the relationships in your life that are healthy and that you are progressing with could definitely kind of help pull you back or reel you in a little bit, so you're not too high strung out there, and that you don't like do something crazy with your public image. Now also the 10th house is the house of authority figures, so you could be finding yourself standing up to authority figures or going against authority figures. Be careful with that as well. Not that I agree with authority figures either right now, but you just want to do it in a way that's Saturnian and Uranus. So planned out, you know, that is somewhat like there's like some kind of strategy or meaning or purpose behind it. You know, like you want to have things that are, you want to be mature about it, you know what I mean? And you want to go about it in a way that's strategic and that is solid, and that doesn't put you like in a situation where you could be breaking the law or doing something that could end up, you know, I don't know, like really screwing up your life in some way. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, or screwing up your reputation, you know what I mean? And I've been dealing with this too, so I get it. Like, I want to say things, I want to speak my mind, I want to embrace my authentic self and my own truth, but the world is a very sensitive place right now, and I kind of have to reel myself back because I'm like, I know Uranus is in my 10th house, like, you know, my whole reputation could be ruined, this, that, and the other, or my career could be ruined, and I don't know if I want to go about that. So you definitely have these impulsive and unique ideas when it comes to the world and the authority figures in the world, or even authority figures in your life, in your job, in your career. Another thing is that you could have, you know, innovations or progressions or updates or something like that in your career. There could be shifts in your career as well. So yeah, that is basically what I'm seeing for you. Other than that, we have the eclipses this year once again happening in Gemini and Sagittarius. So this is our 5th and 11th house, and so we're gonna see eclipses happening around the end of May and into the beginning of June, and then also the end of November and into December. So those are gonna be intense peaks and time periods for us. We're gonna see kind of a flip and a switch, and kind of like a back and forth between our creativity, our self-expression, expressing our truth, expressing our creative vision, our hobbies, our interests, whatever that we do for fun, children as well, versus our place in the world and friends and social groups and trends and connecting with other people, learning, you know, all of these types of major themes are going to be coming up around those eclipse cycles. So but yeah, that is basically it. Tune into the monthly readings for more details from a month-to-month standpoint, and we are going to move on. Alrighty, so Taurus. So Taurus, this is a very crazy year for you guys, especially if you are a Taurus rising. Okay, so you have Uranus in your sign, and it's been there since 2020, or actually no, 2019, sorry, but it's making some pretty major aspects this year to the big players of Saturn, and you know, it already made aspects to Jupiter, but especially Saturn and Aquarius. So the planet of innovation, rebellion, higher truths, you know, shocking events, surprises, shaking things up, going outside of the bounds and breaking the rules, so to say, is in your sign. So, you know, there's this eccentricity about Taurus ever since Uranus has moved into your sign in 2019. Maybe you went through a lot of changes with your appearance or your style or your vibe or what you're into, what you like, what you don't like. It's been really pushing you out of your comfort zone. But with this square to Saturn this year, this is creating a lot of tension and restriction, okay? You know, this is beginning a 20-year era in your career, in your reputation, your public persona, right? Authority figures as well, bosses, judges, the government, the world in general. You know, with Saturn and Jupiter in your 10th house, there's a major focus this year and a major kind of restriction when it comes to our limitations, when it comes to these themes, your career and your public reputation and all of that stuff, your public achievements, what you do out into the world. So your workload may increase, or your responsibilities may increase, or your position may change in the career in some way. Rules or regulations may change in the career in some way. Authority figures may be very highlighted in the career. You may gain a sense of authority in the career as well. But either way, there's a responsibility increase in the professional life, okay? Your career may be changing in some way, you know. It could have something to do with the company you work for, or maybe you could get tired of your career and change your career as well. There will be a huge push towards changes that involve technology, upgrading, progressing the company or organization you work for in some way. Now, here's the thing, with this square to your sign, you may have issues with this. You may start feeling restricted, or you may feel like you have to work really hard just to gain some freedom, or just gain some sense of you, or some time for you, you know, or you may feel like something going on in your career or the world, or with some type of restrictions in the world, or some type of authority figures are threatening your freedom in some way, or are threatening your authenticity in some way. You may start feeling like you're being controlled, or you're trapped in a situation with your career or your public life or the world. You may start feeling like it's not okay to express your authentic self. Okay, and this could be where this, like, what this square is kind of you know, doing with you guys this year. So you may start feeling held back, or like you don't have enough freedom, and you may start eventually rebelling against these you know, these guidelines or restrictions or rules or authority figures or career or something along those lines. But basically, you're being pushed into revolutionizing your professional life, which will cause you to get very innovative and pull out your inner genius, and to pull out your own authenticity. It's going to force you to get creative. How can you be authentic in this? How can you look at some kind of higher truth, or look at things at a higher level? How can you get innovative? This is also going to be a year where you may have to take some risk. You know what I mean? You may have to come out of your shell a little bit. You may have to go outside of your normal bounds. You also may be put in a position where you're like, you feel like you have to conform, or you feel like you have to follow the crowd, or you have to feel like you're doing what everybody else is doing, or you feel like you're not sticking out. You're feeling like it's hard for you to embrace your individuality or your authenticity in some way, shape, or form. You may start thinking about stepping outside of the box, or doing something different, or doing something unique. You also may start rebelling against certain rules, social statuses, authority figures, like I was kind of saying before. But either way, you're going to see major changes in those 10th house themes that affect you on a personal level. Also, the first house with Uranus there is also your health. So you this could go the other way, where you feel like, you know, things going on in the world are somehow limiting your health or your body or your rights or something along those lines. But it's going to feel like you're having to put in some kind of effort, more than it feels like you should, to find some kind of freedom or liberation within yourself, or to find some kind of authenticity within yourself. So the other big things that are happening are the eclipses, which are still happening in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. So Gemini is your 2nd house, Sagittarius is your 8th house. So you're going to see major themes in finances, money, finances, your investments, what you're investing in, what you own, your income, things like this. So these are the themes that you're going to see around the eclipse seasons, which are around the end of May into June and the end of November into December. So around those time periods, you're probably going to see a lot of massive themes coming up with finances, possessions, possibly even your partner's money or your partner's finances if you're in a relationship. But those are going to be the major underlying themes of the eclipses this year. So that is basically what I have for you guys Otherwise, Taurus, if you want a more detailed overview, make sure you join me each month for your horoscope and your forecast, and we are going to move on. All right, so moving on to Scorpio, you are another sign that is likely going to feel this year and the aspects going on this year astrologically the most. So, and you are the last sign that I think is going to feel this more than a lot of the other signs, just depending on your own placements as well. But Scorpio, this is starting a 20-year new era when it comes to your foundation, your past, your family, your home, your inner sense of security and emotions, and your familial bonds, your dynamics with family and the home life, and your childhood. Also, the fourth house rules your parents as well. So these are where you're going to see some restrictions or limitations, delays, hardships, struggles, things like that with Saturn there. But Jupiter is there with it this year as well. So I do think that is going to bring some positive light to the situations that you go through. It's going to be like anything that you go through, there's going to be a certain wisdom to it. You're going to be able to learn and grow from it. And it's going to teach you a lot about yourself and your life and your past and your family, where you come from, your roots. The fourth house is your roots. It is literally the foundation of your chart. It is literally your internal emotions, your internal world. And so this is what is kind of going to be front and center, along with your relationships. There's going to be somewhat of a challenge there with your relationships with Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn basically on and off all year of 2021. So, and you're going to see somewhat of kind of like this weird challenge or back and forth between your home life or your family, or what you're doing in your personal life or your personal time versus your relationships, your agreements, your commitments, and your relationship dynamics and stuff like that. This is going to be a major year of asking yourself if you feel supported, if you feel comfortable in your current relationships or with your current home life or the people that you live with. What do you want to do when it comes to home? Are you wanting to buy a house? Are you wanting to expand? Are you wanting to, what kind of foundation are you wanting to build for yourself and your life to set up upon? So there could be some kind of challenge between your living situation and your relationships or your commitments, or and with Uranus in your opposite sign, you could see some kind of random issues with relationships. Either you could be feeling very rebellious or very possibly even trapped or stuck in certain relationships, or your partner could be feeling that way. There is kind of like this theme of authenticity, rebellion, and liberation and freedom when it comes to relationships and your relationship dynamics that you're really going to see playing out this year. Are you bringing some kind of emotional baggage with you in relationships, or does the past still have a hold of you some way? Are you still committed to something in the past, or are you still rooted in a situation that's holding you back from something to do with your relationships? These are the different ways that these two houses can kind of play out together. But it's really testing you to build a strong and stable emotional foundation within yourself, to feel safe and secure within yourself, and to also let go of things that are no longer serving you from the past. Okay. And for some of you, that could be family members or people that are like family that are no longer need to be in your life for some reason. So a lot of you guys could also be experiencing restrictions in the home life or with the family. Like if you're trying to buy a house, there may be some delays, or it may be a lot more work than you originally planned, or there may be some surprises that you didn't know about to do with your partner or something like that. So those are the main themes that you're gonna see, like the biggest themes that you're gonna see in 2021, Scorpio. But we also have the eclipses, which for you is happening in your 2nd and 8th house sector. You're going to see these peak around eclipse seasons, which are around the end of May and into June, and also the end of November and into December. Now, what kind of themes you're going to see during these peak moments are going to have to do with money, finances, investments, shared finances, and resources. Finances and resources that you get from other people, or people that help you out, or if you share money with a partner, or if you split rent with someone, or if you take out a loan, or if you're in debt, you know, these are the major kind of themes you're going to see come up around that time, around those times, basically. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. All right, so Aries, these are the big themes that are coming in 2021 that I see for you guys. So for Aries, you are going to have Uranus in your second house in Taurus, squaring Saturn most of the year, and Aquarius in your 11th. So this is going to bring up a lot of tension between your friend groups, your social circles, your place in the world, societal systems, society at large, your hopes, your ambitions, your goals, what you want to do out in the world, versus your financial sector, your rights, where you feel like you have freedom to possess or do what you want, or to have what you want, your financial sector, your income, your priorities, all of these types of things. So this is really, you know, it could, a lot of it could be different things going on in the world, like the lockdowns. I think of Saturn in the 11th house as the lockdowns, or societal systems, society at large, the different rules and regulations happening in the world. This could really be affecting your financial life, or you could be really feeling held back, or like you can't express yourself in the way that you want to, or like your morals, your values, the things that you really hold important to you, or the things that you have, or the things that you want to have, are feeling limited. And so it's going to feel like you have to abide by these guidelines or abide by these rules in order to get just a little bit of freedom, or like you're going to have to put a lot of effort into something, or into your ambitions, into your goals, or into what you want for maybe just a little bit of payoff, or a little bit of freedom, or a little bit of liberation. And so that is like the big challenge for Aries in the year of 2021. It's something to do with your place in the world, your social life, your groups, your friends. This is like society at large, the different acquaintances or people in your life, the different systems, rules, and regulations. Also your goals, your ambitions, and your wishes, and where you feel like, you know, where you receive as well is in conflict with your priorities, with your money, with your income, with your possessions, with what you want to have or own. Okay, and so this could be, there's some kind of conflict back and forth with these two areas of life all year long in 2021. So that's what you really want to kind of pay attention to. Now, Mars, your ruling planet, is going to be going through a lot of the signs this year, so I'm not going to focus too much on that. We'll go over that more in depth in each of the monthly readings. But the eclipses for eclipse season are the other big thing that I've been focusing on, and the eclipses are still happening in Gemini and Sagittarius, which for you is your 3rd and 9th house sector. These sectors deal with learning, education, communication, the mind, you know, philosophy, the community, foreign places and travel, all of these different types of areas of life. So you're going to see peak moments in those areas of life around eclipse season, which are May into June, and also November into December. So around these times, you're going to see quite you know, it's going to be quite obvious that you're going to be having these different themes going on of, you know, the Gemini, the communication, the mind, the learning patterns, you know, your local environment and community, your immediate environment, your immediate thoughts, your immediate mind, your immediate thinking, how you think about things, how you perceive things, also short travels and transportation. And then also on the other side of that, Sagittarius, which is your 9th house, which is about higher education, learning, traveling, you know, foreign places, philosophy, religion, also your beliefs, you know, and all of these types of things. So those times of the year, you know, end of May into June and end of November into December, you're going to see those themes coming up for you. And those are the big themes that I see for Aries for this year that you're going to be dealing on and off with all year. And as I said, I will go into more detail in the monthly readings, so make sure that you're watching those for a more detailed overview of what's coming. So moving on to Gemini. So Gemini, the North Node is still in your sign for all of 2021, so it is still all about you. It is really expanding who you are and your Gemini qualities. Know all about thinking and communication and patterns and you know, different integration of different thoughts, ideas, concepts, ideologies, you know, perspectives, perception, It really is about expanding your awareness and expanding your perception. Also learning about new things, learning about new facts, paying attention to the facts and less of the gossip or things that are not proven, I would say is going to be a really big deal for you to keep your awareness and mind right. If not, then it could be very easy for you to like get way too much in your head, as it possibly already has been in 2021. So with Saturn in Aquarius in your 9th house sector, this is really bringing kind of like a responsibility or limitations, delays, kind of like a major focus of your belief systems, what you feel like your purpose is, your meaning in life, optimism, being optimistic. Saturn may make it difficult for some of these things for you. Also, if you're religious, or just how your life views, your views of the world, your views of different religions or spirituality, politics, any kind of like belief system or view that you have, Saturn is really kind of restricting that. It's going to really make you become aware, or it's going to make you, it's going to limit you in some way in order for you to build a stronger foundation when it comes to your belief systems, when it comes to what you feel like your meaning what your meaning is, or your purpose is, or when it comes to what you have faith in, or what you want to do in the grand scheme of things, you know. It's also possibly going to restrict or pull some delays or limitations on like travel and things like that. So yeah, if you're wanting to travel, I would make sure you have it really planned out, and yeah, just make sure you know, if that's something that you can do, just make sure that you are really looking into it and all of that. So on top of that, you know, Saturn is going to be squaring Uranus and Taurus basically on and off the whole entire year. Now Uranus and Taurus is in your 12th house. So this is really kind of shaking things up in the world of the unseen for you, the world of endings, the world of other realms, the area of life that deals with your subconscious, your dreams, and what's hidden, institutions, things that take you away from society. So Gemini, you could be having these really radical ideas or ideologies of wanting to just get away from society, looking at the world, or looking at how divided people are, looking at the clash of belief systems or the restrictions or limitations going on, and you really could be thinking like, I just want to run away, or I just want to go grow my own food, and you're really having these like eccentric, escapist type of ideas where you want to go and be liberated in some way, you know. And it doesn't even have to be all that. It could just be like, I want to go on a retreat, or I don't know, I want to go move out in the middle of woods, or, you know, something like that. Like, I want to do something different. I want to kind of get away and do something different. And that's where you're going to find liberation, is when you take a step back, is when you allow yourself to get rid of everybody else's ideas or concepts or ideologies or what everybody else thinks, or the main narrative, or you know, the trends of what everybody else is doing and all of that, and just like the society and the restrictions or the limitations or the heaviness or the responsibility of society, like taking a step back and like really going within and kind of like allowing yourself to kind of shut off from society from time to time is going to be extremely liberating for you. And you've probably already been thinking about it, or you've probably already been wanting to just get away, or wanting to just like do something different, you know. And you could be having a lot of like higher truths or spiritual breakthroughs. This could be a major time of spiritual breakthroughs when it comes to just things that you've been stuck on for a while, or things that have kept you stuck for a while, you know. And this is really forcing you to think outside of the box, you know, to look at things differently, to step outside of your normal state of mind, step outside of the normal perspective or what everybody else is saying, you know. And this is really going to be a time of like, do you want to conform to other people's beliefs, or what everybody else thinks, or what everybody says you should do, or everybody else's moralistic views? Or do you want to have your own authentic, true values and true morals and true freedom, you know? And so it really is like kind of this back and forth, or this tension between stepping away from all of the bullshit, or being involved in it, you know what I mean? And so I think part of you really wants to help, and part of you really wants to make a difference and change and help people that are lost, or liberate people that are lost. But also, you're also kind of lost with Uranus in your 12th house, you know. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to really embrace the more higher versions of Gemini energy, which is really questioning everything, looking for the facts and the proof, and only at the facts and proof, and not getting caught up in he said, she said bullshit. Like, that is really going to like make you feel crazy, you know, and it's really going to push you into a corner if you're not careful. So we're still going to be having eclipses in your sign and Sagittarius's sign throughout 2021. And so this is going to be happening around May into June and November into December. And so you want to, around those times, you're going to see major peak moments and major new beginnings and endings to do with yourself, your identity, your appearance, your health, versus others and relationships and you know, all of that. So that is basically what I'm seeing for 2021 for Gemini. Hopefully that ends up resonating. Definitely keep up with me throughout the year and let me know. And for more details, make sure that you are subscribed and watch my month-to-month videos for your sign. And yeah, let's move on. What's up, Cancer? So I know I look a little bit different since the beginning of the video, but I am filming this the last half of this video on a different day because it was just a lot to go through. So anyways, for Cancer this year, we're going to start with Saturn in your 8th house. So Saturn is in that 8th house sector, and the 8th house can be a very challenging but also very profound, transformative area of life. Okay, so the 8th house affects certain areas of life that deal with profound transformation, profound change. You know, things that happen that you look back and you are like, yeah, that was really scary or really profound, really intense, but my life would not be where it is without that massive change, you know? So basically, the 8th house can also deal with finance, business, finance, investments, debt, bankruptcy, also your partner's finances, or any shared finances or resources that you have with another person or that you get with another person, money that you owe or money that's owed to you. So some of you guys could find yourselves in jobs that are very business related, science related, technology related, especially with that Aquarius energy. But also you could be starting some kind of online business, or you know, offering some kind of services online as well for some of you, not all of you. These are just ways that you could see this 8th house energy playing out. A lot of others of you could be working on ways to pay off your debt or to get your finances in order, and Saturn is really going to make sure that you do the work, that you do the investigating to get those things in order. You could see some changes with your partner's money or your partner's resources as well. So these are the main 8th house things that you're gonna be seeing on and off for 2021, but even for the next 3 years. And you do have Jupiter there for most of the year this year to kind of help to make sure that your work and the hard work you're putting into these 8th house themes are playing, they're paying off basically. So this is a great year for business, finances, investments. I mean, you know, exchange services, all of these types of things. So you could really be seeing things in those areas of life this year in 2021. Now, the challenge is that Saturn is going to be squaring Uranus in your 11th house sector on and off throughout the whole year. Now, Uranus in the 11th house, I think of protest, I think of movements, wanting change in some way, I think of networking, I think of social groups, I think of, you know, your goals and aspirations. So I think where the challenge could be, you could see a challenge with some of that. And I'm not gonna lie, the 11th, 8th house square, I don't have too much like experience with, like actually real life experience with. So I want to ask you guys, if you see these themes, to let me know where you've been seeing them in your own life down below, because it would really help me understand how this 11th, 8th house square could be playing out for you guys. So, but the 11th house where Uranus is, that's going to be squaring Saturn in your 8th house of finances, business, investments, debt, all of those things. The 11th house deals with social life, status quo, social class, you know, networking, where you fit in the world, groups, masses, people, movements. So one example that you could see, some of you could see this playing out, is if you are doing something business related or exchanging services of some kind, or doing something with finances. Maybe you're trying to network or connect with other people or get your business out there or something, but there's some kind of challenge. Okay, so that's one way that you could see it playing out. You may also be feeling pressed to be super authentic, or to you know, change kind of like your branding or change the organization that you're working for, or upgrade the way that you're networking and getting your services and business out there in some way. But either way, there's going to be some kind of challenge between other people and groups of people, you know, movements and all of that stuff, versus your 8th house sector of finance, investments, business, services, you know, exchange resources, other people's resources, debt, and all of these types of things. Now, the 8th house can also be a little bit scary in the terms of it deals with death, depending on your feelings about death. You know, we as a society really have this taboo kind of stigma attached to death, even though it's an inevitable part of life. And I think that, you know, we should be looking at it as, you know, other cultures in our history did, which was very beautiful. But so, and I think that, you know, you could be finding yourself going through something like that too, where you start kind of, you know, somehow, some way, mortality, or the topic of mortality or the topic of death comes up in some way where you have to almost find a way to work through it, to find a way to face it in some way. I'm not saying you're going to die or anything. I'm just saying that in some way, shape, or form, you know, you may find yourself thinking about this kind of topic, or in a situation where you have to consider this kind of topic in some way. Not everybody, so don't, you know, I don't want to scare people, but the reality is that, you know, that's why we have the 8th house. It deals with endings to some level. It deals with transformations. It deals with death and mortality. And so these are things that you could be seeing. Some of you guys could even be working with people that are dying, like maybe you're a nurse or something like that. So this is something else that could come up with this 8th house sector here. But Saturn is going to make sure that you're really working hard in this 8th house sector, that you're really doing the work to get your finances in order, to really face some of these major life changes. And depending on where you were born, Saturn was last here back in the early 90s. So I believe from either 1990 or 1991 to like 1993, 4. So if you want to think back around that time, if you were alive and you remember, you can kind of see what was going through your life at that time. The 8th house can also deal with things like divorce and separation from relationships, but it can also deal with the merging and the further commitment of two people. So those are other things that you can see with the 8th house. It's really where we deal with the major life changes, you know, where we have those really profound changes in our life that can shake us up, you know, and that can really change the course or direction of our life, or change our outlook on life, which is why the next house is the 9th house, the outlook, you know, our outlook, our belief systems, our philosophies, what we believe in, you know, our views on life itself and religion and all of those things. So anyways, so those are the two main energies that we're going to be having, and you're going to see kind of the tension between those two areas of life with groups of people and your place in the world, and you know, all of those kinds of things, your social life and networking versus you know, business and finance and etc. Another major thing that's happening is Jupiter is going to be moving out of your 8th house sector of Aquarius, and then moving into Pisces, which is your 9th house sector. This is going to happen around May, and it's going to retrograde back, I believe, in July. So here's the thing. Around this time, you want to look for themes of wanting to expand or do something that is beyond what you thought you could. You may start wanting to expand your education. You may want to expand your knowledge. You may even want to start helping people. You may want to start giving back to the world or working with charities. You may want to start you may want to go back to school for something. You may want to expand your education. You may want to travel. I do believe once Jupiter moves into Pisces that the lockdowns will be less restrictive, or I think that things will start to open up again around that time for a couple months. But I think that you're definitely going to be seeing themes of optimism and purpose. What's my purpose? What am I here to do? It's the higher meaning of things. You're going to want to be helping people. You're going to be wanting to focus on healing and you know, learning and really growing as a human being and in this lifetime. Things are going to really open up, and there's going to be more of a broad outlook on life and what you want to do and what you're here to do in life. and you may not feel so limited around that time. So you definitely want to watch out for that. I think it's going to be a really cool time for you with Jupiter in your ninth. It's going to really feel like you are almost like you're opening the doors to get like a massive breeze in, you know, and it's gonna feel like you're on the beach and you've been like stuffed up in a room, like you've been locked in a room or something for days or something, and finally like the door is unlocked somehow, like poof, magically, and you get to open it up and you just get to be graced by the breeze. Whoops. And then you get to be like, oh my god, like it's, you know, I have a limitless way of doing things now. I can go farther than what I thought. You know, it's just gonna really feel like doors are opening up around that time, and you're gonna be seriously thinking about how to bring people together and how to go beyond your bounds, basically. So those are some things you can notice for those couple months around that time. We have a few eclipses this year as well, and the eclipses will be around May to June. Or I'm sorry, is it May to June or June to July? Okay, so yeah, May to June, and then November to December. Around that time frame, we are going to have eclipse seasons. So basically, the eclipses will be in the same places that they were for the basically last half of last year. So for you, this is your 12th and 6th house sectors, okay? And these sectors deal with your health, your habits, your subconscious habits and patterns and cycles that affect your day-to-day life. This also deals with what you do on a day-to-day basis, also what you do behind the scenes, the past. It deals with reality and also where we try to escape reality, basically. And so around those times, you're going to notice they're very karmic times, bringing up things that need lessons that need to be learned in these areas and where you need to grow further. The 6th house also deals with your job and, you know, your day-to-day routines, your day-to-day schedules. It can, back in the, you know, ancient astrology, it dealt with misfortune and where we felt overburdened. So yeah, it may feel like you are being pushed to let go more of the day-to-day reality and pushed to go more into learning and exploring things behind the scenes and being by yourself and doing your own thing and kind of isolating from the world, with the Gemini North Node in your 12th house behind your sign. So this is going to be really about learning, but in a more esoteric way, or alternative, learning more about alternative healing methods. You know, these types of things are going to be majorly coming up for you, and also letting go of certain belief systems and biases regarding your health and your job are also going to be major themes coming up for you, Cancer. So that is basically, those are basically the major themes of this year. And of course, we will talk about it every step of the way, month to month, when I do your horoscope for each month. So make sure to stick around and subscribe for that, and definitely let me know if you can already see a lot of these themes happening for you. And we are going to move on to Virgo. What's up, Virgo? Welcome to your 2021 predictions. So just a reminder, these are the major themes that you're going to see for 2021. I'm just going over the biggest kind of themes or transits that we have happening this year, that you're going to notice the most, like the kind of underlying themes throughout the year, if that makes sense. So but make sure to keep up with me in the data or the month-to-month horoscopes. That way you will be updated and you will know more details month to month. So anyways, Saturn is in your 6th house sector, making it crunch time when it comes to your work, your routines, your health, your diet, your schedules, how you take care of yourself on a day-to-day basis, what you do on a day-to-day basis, and getting your shit organized, especially in your mind. You may have increased work, you know, throughout the year with Saturn in your 6th house. You may have increased responsibility at work or for work or whatever, or day-to-day activities may increase. Somehow, some way, the workload or the responsibility load is increasing in your life right now this year. But Jupiter is there, so you will see benefits from this increased responsibility, which is really cool if you work hard and do things the right way, like Saturn wants you to. So on top of that, you know, you may see certain endings happening or restrictions happening related to your day-to-day schedules, routines, health, diet. You may notice some energy changes and how you feel on a day-to-day basis. That could be kind of symptoms of some kind of health related issue. But there's definitely going to be a lot of increase in restriction and limits and boundaries when it comes to those sixth house themes that I've named off. You're definitely going to be, I just went through this transit, so I mean it was in Capricorn, not Aquarius, but still I went through Saturn in my sixth house. It is not fun nor easy, and it can really eventually feel like you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and it can feel very redundant. But with Jupiter there for this first year, it really is helping you. So it's going to be important, since you have Aquarius in your sixth house though, to really progress what you're doing, to find a way to make it new, to find a way to change it a little bit or tweak it a little bit to make it work for you, to do it in a different way or a new way, or get innovative on a day-to-day basis. This is going to be very important for you. Now the challenge with this though is Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in your sixth house, and Uranus and Taurus for you is in your ninth house of your belief systems, your world views, your philosophical views, your religious views, your political views, your views on life and the world in general. You know, any kind of outlook or belief system or view that you have is really associated with the ninth house normally. Now the ninth house is also associated with higher education and learning. It is also associated with travel and getting out of our comfort zone, being more optimistic, opening up, and taking adventures and learning new things, and exploring different cultures. And so you could notice a lot coming up there. It's really where we find meaning and purpose in life. Okay, and so with the ninth house, with Uranus in your ninth house and Taurus, you have some very stubborn outlooks and belief systems and views on things that you don't like to change often. And Uranus is kind of challenging those belief systems along with Saturn to somehow make them new, to somehow progress them, to somehow change them in some type of way, to basically find some kind of higher truth. Because if not, this is going to start affecting your day-to-day life, because Uranus is squaring Saturn on and off throughout the year in your sixth house sector. Now, the main time periods where you're going to notice this is February. It's going to get really tense with these themes. So then in June and December, so these time periods, and then they almost become into a square in October as well, but not quite. So those time periods, those months, is where you're really going to be feeling the pressure to get innovative or to change something or to try something new in the day-to-day life, or with your outlooks, your views, your belief systems, what you want out of life, where you find meaning and purpose. And so it could be a struggle, because I think partially you may want to be free and go explore and go do something new or get out of your comfort zone. But another part of you is like stuck with these day-to-day responsibilities or job or, you know, whatever, or there's health issues or something, you know. So basically we're dealing with issues of the ninth and sixth house, you know, our belief systems, our views, our higher education versus our day-to-day responsibilities. And so you could also find that, you know, you have to somehow find ways to find meaning and purpose in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or that you may need some kind of spiritual new practice to start practicing, or even going back to a previous one that you've kind of gotten away from because of all the overload or responsibilities, to start keeping you grounded on a day-to-day basis. So these are some examples of where you could see these energies playing out, but definitely know how you are seeing those energies play out down below, because I'd be really interested to know. So those are the underlying themes that we're going to be seeing on and off all year. But the other big thing that we're going to be seeing is Jupiter is going to briefly move out of Aquarius in May and then retrograde back, I believe, in July. So Jupiter will move into Pisces, which for you is your seventh house sector, and this is a big deal. Pisces is your opposite sign if you're a Virgo rising. And so when Jupiter moves in to your seventh house sector, you know, this is going to be a massive time for you, Virgo, for relationships. But Jupiter is very benefic, so this is a good thing. So if you're a Virgo rising and you're single, I think this would be a good time to meet somebody, or for somebody to come into your life. And even, it may not even be romantic. It could be a best friend, a business partnership, you know, a new connection of people, or group that you start hanging out with, a new class that you start going to, because I believe that when Jupiter moves into Pisces, we may start seeing the world open up a little bit more, at least until it retrogrades back into Aquarius, in my opinion. But basically, I think Jupiter, when Jupiter moves into your 7th house, this is going to bring some really benefic, expansive energy in the relationship department. I think it would be a really opportune time for people to get married, for Virgo risings to possibly get married, to expand on their commitment if they already have one, or to start meeting people, to start dating, get really social, meeting new people, etc., etc. Or, you know, if you have some kind of online presence or business, to start gaining more followers or clients, etc. So I think that's going to be a really good time. And I think it's also going to be a time of expanding yourself out in the world, like who you are out in the world, or who you are when you're with other people. So anyways, other than that, we also have the eclipses this year. Eclipse season is going to be about May to June, and then November to December. Now, they're going to be, for the most part, in the same places that they were last year, because the nodes haven't switched yet. They don't switch till next year, which are Gemini and Sagittarius, which for you is your 4th and 10th house sector. Now, we will have one towards the end of the year, I believe, in Taurus, because the nodes will be pretty close to the cusp, and the moon won't quite be in, the sun won't quite be in Sagittarius yet. Basically, for the most part, you're going to notice the energy around home and family and your roots and your past, your childhood, where you feel safe internally, your ancestry, your heritage, where you come from, you know, and just basically also land and real estate, versus your career, your public image, what you want out of life, what you want to achieve in life, and where you feel like you're going in life, your path, also authority figures, reputation, things like this. So you're going to notice those major themes. There's going to be major lessons and kind of karmic situations happening in those themes, where you need to learn in those areas of life that you need to somehow grow when those eclipses happen. So those are other themes that you're going to see. But yeah, other than that, that is basically it for Virgo. So hopefully this resonates with you guys. Definitely let me know if you're seeing any of these themes yet down below. I'm sure a lot of you are. And we're going to move on to Libra. All right, Libra. So for you, for 2021, you finally have Saturn away from squaring you. You know, the cardinal signs can finally like breathe for a second, you know. And so I'm sure if you're a Libra sun or a Libra rising, or even possibly a Libra moon, you may be feeling a little bit lighter, not so heavy, dense, and slowed down. But Saturn is in your 5th house now, but it does have Jupiter there, so you have some help. And Saturn is in your 5th house of children, where you find your pleasure, your joy, your heart, romance, dating, what you do to have fun, anything that you do for hobbies or personal pleasure, what you really, you know, just really matters of the heart, matters of where you really find personal pleasure, where, you know, your interest and all of these types of things. So, you know, Saturn could be really cracking down on this area of life somehow. You could be feeling, it could go either way with Jupiter there. Some of you guys could be feeling like your love life is a little bit heavy or dense or stable right now, or maybe you're feeling very bored, or you could be feeling like you're working very hard on something that you love, you know. So it may be affecting you guys different. Definitely let me know how you're feeling it so far down below. I'm really curious to know how it's affecting Libra risings right now. So the issue is that Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, which for you is your 8th house sector. Okay, and Uranus is going to be squaring Saturn in your 5th house sector. Uranus in your 8th house sector. So your 8th house deals with some of the more harder issues of life, like mortality, death, debt, bankruptcy, divorce, you know, the types of issues that we go through in life, whether financial or physical, that can be very emotionally hard, or profound transformative moments in our life. But at the same time, this house also deals with business and exchange of services or money, your partner's money, resources that you share or get from another person, or money that you get from another person, money that you owe or money that's owed to you. But it can also deal with the taboo and the occult and investigation and things like this. So I also, traditional astrology did not view it as a sexual house. I view it as a sexual house in some circumstances. Not just like normal regular sex, but normally sex that possibly involves like something like tantra, or something like that, which I think, now that I'm bringing that up, I feel like there's a reason I'm bringing that up. I think that would be very interesting for Libra risings to get into if you have a partner, or even, I mean, I guess if you don't do it, you do live your best life, but I think that that would be something really cool to get into for Libra risings right now. Now, with this square, with Uranus square Saturn through your 8th and your 5th, another way that you could be seeing this play out is any issues that you may go through with that 8th house sector, any surprises, you know, Uranus, or random things that come up. You may be feeling like you want to, how I see this playing out for you guys is there's something you really, really want that you feel would really bring that joy to your heart, or something you and your partner want, or, you know, there's something that you may really, really want, but you may be feeling held back by debt or old issues from the past, or old financial issues from the past, that you really want to break free from, that you really are feeling like, I need to get out of this, I need freedom from this, I need to rebel against this. Like, you may be really, really feeling like, okay, I'm ready to break loose of these ties from the past, like where I owe something or someone owes me something. That could be one of the ways that you see this playing out on and off this year, Libra. Another way that this could be playing out is that you may have some issues or changes that come up in those 8th house themes of money, resources, investment, inheritance, business, etc., death, mortality, you know, etc., like I already said, that somehow end up adding to your life in some way, because the 5th house is actually very fortunate. In traditional ancient astrology, it's the house of fortune. And so you could find yourself, like, there may be some challenges for Libra risings, but you could find yourself actually possibly making a lot of money this year by doing something that you're passionate about, or something that you love, with maybe technology, science, or the internet, or something unconventional or weird with Aquarius in your 5th. I mean, you could really, you know, you could maybe even, like, maybe you meet someone that you fall in love with that is, I don't know, the owner of some company or something, you know. I'm just saying, like, these are the different ways that these can play out. The 5th house can also rule children, so you could see maybe some finances coming up surrounding your child or something like that as well. So those are some ways, but definitely let me know if you see any of those themes. Not necessarily the examples I gave of different ways they could work together to play out, but just any of those themes in general already happening and how it's happening, I'd be really interested to know for Libras. So the other major theme is that Jupiter is going to be moving out of Aquarius and into Pisces around May, and it will retrograde back like the end of July. But this is going to be really interesting because Pisces is your 6th house. So when Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 6th house, you may even see more expansion with, or more growth with, your day-to-day work, your day-to-day responsibilities, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, your job. You know, this would be a great time to possibly get some kind of promotion, or to start doing something that you're really passionate about, or something that really excites you, or that's really creative. This would be a great time to incorporate something like dance or some kind of creative hobby into your day-to-day routine if you're not already. You could also be learning something new around this time, like learning some kind of new skill for a job or something. And you could also be doing something new with your health, your diet, your routine, these types of things. So I think that that's going to be a good period. Those couple months that Jupiter is going to be in your 6th, you're going to notice definitely growth and expansion and possibly opportunity with your job or with, you know, your day-to-day, whatever you're doing on like a day-to-day basis. So anyways, moving on, the other big themes are the eclipse seasons this year, which are happening around May into June, and then also November into December, which will still mainly be in Gemini and Sag this year, other than I think one that is kind of like in Taurus randomly, in that 8th house sector that I was already talking about, but that's towards like the end of the year in November still. But other than that, they will mainly be in Gemini and Sagittarius, which for you, Libra, is your 9th and 3rd house. So basically these are the educational and learning houses, also the travel and movement houses. So around those times you could definitely be learning something new. So this summer around June, May into June, that's when Jupiter ingresses into Pisces for those couple months as well. You could definitely be taking some kind of class or course, or possibly thinking about going back to school or learning some kind of new skill. You could be doing something with like design or blog or writing or publishing or something like that. And yeah, you could be kind of very busy around those times, or you could see some kind of new beginning or massive peak moments of those themes of travel, education, also where you find meaning and purpose in your life, optimism, your belief systems, your views on life, and etc. That's going to be interesting, you know, or you may end up like taking a yoga class or doing something that relates to healing or health in some way with that Jupiter in the 6th, especially this summer. So let me know how that ends up all going down below, Libra, and if you've seen any of these themes so far already, but that is what I see for you guys. I know that was a lot. You're free to go back and take notes if you would like so you remember, but this video will stay up all year as well. And yeah, so we are going to move on to Sagittarius. What's up, Sagittarius, and welcome to your 2021 predictions. So I'm going to go over the biggest themes, the underlying themes that will probably be kind of affecting and that you will see on and off throughout your year of 2021. So keep that in mind. Definitely make sure that you're keeping up with me on a month-to-month basis to get more details on a month-to-month basis of your horoscope and what's happening in the astrology, etc., etc. So anyways, let's get into it, Sag. So basically the big theme that we first have this year is Saturn in Aquarius. Now, Saturn in Aquarius for you is in your 3rd house. So this is a house of learning, the mind, you know, communication, also siblings, relatives, short travel, your environment, the things that you kind of do on a day-to-day basis, the busyness of your day-to-day life, you know, how much you use your mind and what you think about, patterns, and all of these types of different things. It can also deal with like entrepreneurship, or if you're like a small business or doing something online, or doing something with media, we could also see that in the 3rd house, or having meetings, etc. So you could be noticing these themes with Saturn here. Also with Saturn here, you there could be some restrictions with these things as well, or you could be noticing a lot more responsibility or a lot more work with those themes. You could be feeling like you really want to start something new, or that you want to learn something new this year. Now, the issue here is Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus is in your 6th house of your day-to-day responsibilities, your day-to-day life, your routines, the mundane kind of things that you have to do every day. Also, like your schedule, your health, your job, co-workers, pets, and these types of things. So with Saturn in the 3rd and Uranus in the 6th, there's a lot of kind of challenge here. You know, it could be, Saturn could be cracking down on you, making sure that you're scheduling your appointments, making sure that you are doing the things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis. But Uranus in your 6th could be giving some challenges with, you know, really wanting freedom from some kind of busyness or some kind of responsibility or some kind of work or job or whatever. You know, you could be really wanting to do something different and eccentric that like gets you out of your normal everyday you know, kind of repetitive routines or responsibilities, and it could start feeling a little bit like your local environment or your day-to-day shit is starting to feel heavy, and you need to somehow make it new or get innovative or break free from something. And so that's going to be kind of like the challenge on and off all year that you may notice. Other than that, Jupiter is going to be moving out of Aquarius, your 3rd house, and into Pisces, your 4th house, around May, and it will eventually retrograde back into Aquarius at the end of July. So from about May until the end of July, when Jupiter ingresses into Pisces, your 4th house, you're going to start noticing themes of wanting to expand your home and your family life, your maybe learn more about your family or your past, where you come from, your roots. You may want to move, or you may want to somehow expand on your home. You may you know, maybe you end up moving in with someone, or someone ends up moving in with you, or you want to make a bigger family, or you want to have bigger land or more property. You know, it deals with real estate as well. So these are some of the themes that you could see May to July. Also, from May to June, we start the first eclipse season. The eclipses will still be in your sign and your opposite sign of Gemini this year. This is going to be very interesting. The eclipse seasons mainly, and the other one that we have is in November to December. The eclipse seasons are mainly dealing with you and who you are as a person, yourself, your appearance, your body, how you express yourself, and kind of like your characteristics, how you come off, versus your partners and other people in your life and your commitments with other people and the public, you know. And so you're going to see a lot of these back and forth themes, which I'm sure you've already been seeing. With the South Node in your sign Sagittarius, there's definitely a lot of karmic things, lessons that are being learned when it comes to yourself and your identity, who you are as a person, how you come off, especially if you're a Sagittarius rising, and you're kind of being pushed towards considering other people's opinions, looking more at the facts and less at your beliefs or your dogmas or your views or, you know, whatever, your philosophies. You're being kind of pushed to consider different sides of things and to not be so opinionated and to be a little bit more open-minded to things with that Gemini energy, especially when it comes to other people and listening to other people and what they think and what they have to say, and the way that they see things a little bit more than usual, right? So this is definitely going to be major. Also, with those eclipses, you may notice things coming up in relationships, business partnerships, marriage, these types of things, clients, services, all of that. Those are the main themes that I'm seeing for you guys, Sag. Definitely let me know down below if you've been seeing any of those themes at all yet this year. And thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to keep up with me month to month as I go over each month what you'll be experiencing. So anyways, moving on to Capricorn. What's up, Capricorn, and welcome to your 2021 predictions. So I'm going to go over the major themes this year, kind of the underlying themes that you're going to see on and off throughout the whole year, and we'll focus more on the smaller transits and the month-to-month horoscopes. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss those. So Capricorn, basically, your ruling planet, Saturn, and Jupiter are now out of your sign. So I'm sure you're likely feeling a lot lighter and a lot more kind of confident in who you are, and a lot less, you know, weighed down upon, like the world is on your shoulders now that they are in Aquarius. So this is one of the major themes of this year with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. There's definitely a major focus on your priorities, your money, your resources, your finances, what you have, what you own, right? Your self-worth, you know, what you have to offer, your income, all of these types of things. So this has been a major focus for you if you're a Capricorn rising, and will be continually throughout this year and the next couple years as Saturn moves through your second house. Now, the issue here is that Saturn is getting, you know, hits, or what we call squares in astrology, from Uranus on and off all year, and Uranus is in Taurus, which for you is your 5th house sector. Uranus in your 5th house. What is your 5th house? Your 5th house is your area of life that deals with children, also what you love, you know, where you find your joy, basically matters of the heart, you know, dating, romance, sexuality, you know, anything that you do from the heart, anything that you have a lot of interest in, you know, things like that, you know, your hobbies or your passions, and what you do for fun. You know, it's also a very fortunate house. So, but with Uranus here squaring everything in your second, here's the thing. You are possibly very money motivated right now, or very motivated or working very hard to make something for yourself, to own something, or to have something that you really want. But with this Uranus-Saturn square, there may be delays, there may be setbacks, there may be things that you didn't see coming, or things that you couldn't predict, or unpredictable circumstances when it comes to what it is that you want. You know, with Uranus in your fifth, you're wanting to step outside the box and be eccentric and be progressive, or do something different financially, or with something that you want, something that you have a lot of interest in, or that you really love. But that square with Saturn and Aquarius is like, well, what about your priorities? And, you know, what about, you know, basically your morals and your own values, and, you know, what you have now. There can be kind of a lot, kind of what I'm getting with this right now is like, there are some things in your life that were working just fine, and so make sure that you are not throwing them out for something new and shiny just because it looks good, because that can have a lot of backlash. You know what I mean? Really make sure that you're continually checking in with yourself, if you are on the same page, if your priorities are matching your worth and your own values and what you believe in, etc., because that is going to really help you. So you could find that you are putting in a lot of energy towards your assets, but there may be some unforeseen circumstances that are coming up on and on throughout the year. Or somehow there's a challenge with that second house of money and resources versus the fifth house of love, children, where your heart is, what you want, you know, etc., where your fortune is. So there could be some kind of challenge there. And I think it's really like you're learning the value and worth of different things in your life that you wanted, but maybe that were different, or are different once you get them, right? And so that could be another lesson that you're learning on and off throughout this next year. Now, another major transit that I've been mentioning in these horoscopes is Jupiter moving into Pisces. Now, Jupiter in Pisces for you is your third house sector of communication, your skills, also short travels and learning, and your kind of immediate environment, your neighbors, your siblings, your relatives or distant relatives, your cousins, the people that you kind of talk to on a day-to-day basis, and the things that you do, or the errands that you run on a day-to-day basis, your day-to-day schedules. So when Jupiter moves into Pisces, you could see a lot of growth or expansion in those areas. You may want to get a new car, or you want to maybe expand your knowledge in some area, or expand some kind of skill, or expand a website, you know, or expand a business or something along those lines. So that's going to be a really good time for kind of doing something with communication, or writing, or designing, you know, those types of things you could see as well. So other than that, we also have the eclipse seasons this year from May to June, and then also from November to December. Now, for the most part, the eclipses are still going to be in Gemini and Sag. There is going to be one kind of eclipse that is in Taurus towards the end of the year, which is that fifth house sector that I've already kind of went over. But for the most part, when these eclipse seasons happen, you know, from May to June and November to December, you're going to see a major kind of energy being brought up. For you, that is your 6th and 12th house sector. So basically these sectors, the 6th house basically deals with reality, the day-to-day burdens and responsibilities that you have, like work, you know, routines, health, things like this, taking care of yourself, hygiene, etc. And the 12th house is more of where we escape reality, where we kind of go inward, or where we even get, you know, taken away from reality in some circumstances. So like, you know, the 12th house can also rule hospitals and institutions and things that take us away from reality. But it can also rule like, you know, foreign travel, or, you know, going kind of isolating yourself, or going on vacation or something like that, as well as like an escape. So these are some themes that you could see coming up around those times. The 12th house can also be kind of like subconscious habits that are affecting your day-to-day health and routine. So that's what those are the major themes of the eclipses this year for you. You know, with the Gemini and Sag energy, this is very much about learning and letting go of subconscious belief systems, or dogmas, or prejudices, or old views, or old philosophies, old ways of looking at things that could be subconscious but could be affecting your day-to-day life schedules, work routines, etc. Where do you need to open up a little bit? Where do you need to be a little bit more open-minded, or listen to other people's opinions? Now, with the North Node in Gemini and those eclipses happening there, you could also find that maybe you're doing a lot of different things, or wearing a lot of different hats in the workplace or on a day-to-day basis. So that's something else that you could kind of see happening. Anyways, Capricorn, that is basically it. And definitely let me know if you've seen any of these themes already and the details. I'd love to hear what's going on with you guys so far this year. And it could even be a little reminder if you come back and watch this at the end of the year and see your comment from now, like a little time capsule, I guess, if you want to call it that. But yeah, anyways, we're going to move on to Pisces. What's up, Pisces? Welcome to your 2021 horoscope for this year. Let's get into it. Also, make sure that you're subscribed and keep up with me to listen to the monthly horoscopes, where we go into more detail on the, you know, monthly transits that are happening. In this horoscope, I'm mainly going to focus on the kind of big themes of 2020, the underlying themes that you're going to see throughout 2020, or I'm sorry, 2021. Have I been saying 2020? Oh my God. 2021. Anyways, let's get into it. The big thing is Saturn is in Aquarius, which for you is your 12th house sector. So this is a time where you are maybe feeling a little bit more isolated, where you are really kind of going within, or where you could be noticing a lot of 12th house themes, like the subconscious and healing and things going on behind the scenes, old patterns, old cycles, old karma. Especially if you're a Pisces rising, you're going to be noticing these things. Also, on top of that, like restrictions that you feel are holding you back, or things that you've been avoiding. Also, maybe wanting to get away from reality or society, or from people, or from the everyday shit. You know, maybe you're wanting to like go move out in the woods somewhere and live by yourself, you know. Other things that you could see are themes of institutions or hospitals coming up, because the 12th house rules kind of escaping and getting out of reality. Habits, patterns, all of these things could be coming up, cycles. So those are some things that you could, some themes you could be seeing on and off. Now Jupiter is there though, so it is helping you this year. Saturn will be there for the next few years, but Jupiter is there this first year kind of helping. So it's kind of expanding and showing you where things are that you may be holding on to from the past that you need to heal, or that you need to kind of learn more about. And so this can be a really good time for that. So making sure that you're making the space to go within, to meditate, to give yourself time, to give yourself the time that you need to deal with certain, you know, situations. Also, possibly facing certain realities, or facing certain endings in your life as well. This could definitely be a major time of endings for Pisces risings. So those are some things that you could see, but it could also get really cool, because Saturn actually really is, it finds its joy in being in the 12th house. So you could get really into spirituality, or helping people, or past lives, or karma, or something just very spiritual or esoteric, which could be really cool as well. On top of that, though, Uranus is going to be squaring Saturn on and off all year from the sign of Taurus. Taurus is your 3rd house sector, and your 3rd house deals with your local community, your short travels, or how you kind of get around, movements, etc., your daily, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, your skills, your knowledge, your mind, your communication, all of these types of things. Also learning, your schedules, your cousins, your siblings, your distant relatives, things like this. So you could be seeing some of those themes as well, or some kind of challenge going on between that 12th house area that I was just talking about, that's very kind of closed off and, you know, gets you away from the world, versus maybe things that you have to do on an everyday basis, or your local environment, you know, travels, or your daily schedules, or certain people in your life, or your neighborhood, or your community. So there could be some kind of challenge there between that 12th house sector and that 3rd house sector. So let me know how you could be seeing that. This could be really good though for learning something new, for doing something new. Especially in the esoteric, healing, spirituality realms. This could be good for studying or writing a book or something like that. But I also feel like there's some kind of resistance to, there's some kind of resistance or avoidance in these areas of life somewhere. So let me know how, if you're a Pisces, how you're seeing that possibly playing out in your life down below. Now, something else happening is Jupiter in May is moving out of Aquarius and into your sign, Pisces, and Jupiter is the traditional ruler of your sign. So this is bomb. This is bomb. And I think that if you're feeling, you know, kind of held back, or, you know, some kind of heaviness or something, or some kind of resistance, Jupiter moving in your sign is going to be like a nice breeze. It is going to really help you, especially if you're a Pisces rising, start feeling better about yourself, wanting to start something new with your life, and really thinking about what's my meaning, what's my purpose, what am I here to do, what am I here to learn, what do I want to do with myself, who am I as a person. You're going to really want to start exploring yourself and your identity and your appearance and your health and what you feel like you're here to do in this life, or what you want to start. And so that's going to be really good. It is going to retrograde back into Aquarius in your 12th house around the end of July. So it's only going to be in there for a couple months until it moves in, I believe at the very end of the year, like the literally very end of the year in December. But at least for those few months, you're going to get like a sneak peek of what it's going to be about when it moves into your sign next year. So that's going to be really helpful, I think, and you're going to be possibly feeling very better around those couple of months this year. Other than that, the other last major themes we have are the eclipse seasons, which are from May to June and November to December this year. So and the eclipses are happening for the most part in Gemini and Sagittarius, which for you is your 10th and 4th houses. So basically, this is when you have those eclipses around those times this year, you're going to be noticing a lot of karmic things coming up with career, public image, reputation, also where you feel your path is in the world or in this life. So possibly authority figures or people that you feel are in power. Basically, what you want to be known for in your achievements. There could be a lot of karmic lessons being learned in these areas, but also you're kind of being pushed to learn more about your home, your family, your roots. You are really being pushed inward, Pisces, instead of outward, like look at me. No, you're being pushed like let's go in and explore other realms within instead of without, you know. And so that's really going to be the major themes you're going to be learning this year. So yeah, your 4th house sector deals with home, family, real estate, your roots, where you feel comfortable, where you feel like you can be yourself behind closed doors, your emotional world, all of these different things, you know, where you really, your foundation. And so that's what you're really working on this year, Pisces. So that is what I am seeing for you. Hopefully this ends up resonating. Let me know if you've seen any of these themes so far. I'm sure a lot of you guys have. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and for your support. Make sure to subscribe and keep up with me throughout the year and with your horoscopes each month. And yeah, I will see you guys. That is basically it for all of you guys, but I will see you guys in my other videos. Bye.